Today I'm going to show you how to solve a quadratic by factoring. This is definitely my favorite method to do it. It's the same concept where we still have a parabola because we still have a quadratic function, and it might go through the vertex in two places or one place or not at all, and we can figure that all out by factoring. So this time we're not going to graph, we're just going to factor. Okay, and in the end I'm going to show you how factoring can help you graph. Okay, the first thing that I want to explain to you is what's called the zero product property. And this is a property you're going to use all the time. It's pretty easy, and you're just going to do it. I don't know how often you're actually going to refer to it, but it is called the zero product property. And here's the basic concept. And then I'm going to come back to this. If I had 5 times 0, that is going to equal 0. It wouldn't even matter what this is. If I multiply it, by 0, it's going to get 0. And same the other way around, right? So if I have two parentheses and it says find the solution, and I have two terms or, two equations that I'm multiplying together, if I'm saying that they equal 0, and we're going to make it so that it always is equal to 0, basically one of these parentheses has to equal to 0. Because if this entire parentheses here equals 0, 0 times whatever that is going to be 0. Or if this whole thing equals 0, then 0 times whatever this is going to equal 0. So in order to go further than this, what we're going to do is we're going to split it, and we're going to say, well, x minus 9 might equal 0. 5x plus 2 might equal 0. And then we're just going to solve this just like it's a normal equation. Add 9 to both sides. So that means one of the solutions is 9. Subtract 2 from both sides. Divide by 5. So this means if we have a parabola, which this will be a parabola, we will have two solutions, and one solution is going to be 9, and one solution is going to be negative 2/5. All right, didn't have to graph anything, and those are our answers. Okay, so right here, you guys are going to practice. Go ahead and solve both of these. What would the solutions be? Now, it's going to get a little harder than this, but this is just the very beginning, right? If I have two things that are being multiplied, we're going to use the zero product property and figure out what x is. And I'm going to kind of, speed through this. Set them both equal to 0. Okay, so those are my two solutions. 1/2 and negative 3. Same thing here. So if I have a parabola, I know that they're going to go through the x-axis at negative 1.5 and 1/3. All right? So that's obviously going to lead us to something. And here we go. Here now we have, because you might say, well, wait a second, Miss Knight, most of the time it was not written out like this. Most of the time it was an equation, and I had to find negative b over 2a, or I had to graph it. I had to do something to it. It wasn't just this easy. So same thing. In this one, here is an equation. Well, it's not in standard form yet, but look at our step 1. The first thing we're going to do is put it in standard form. And we also want to make sure that it's set equal to 0. Okay, so I'm just going to add 20 to both sides. Usually that first step is pretty easy. All right, now that it's set equal to 0, now I'm going to say, well, can I factor this? Well, back to can I do it the long way or the short way? This is nice because it's the short way. So I'm going to go ahead and put my parentheses down. X, the signs are the same. They're both positive. Factors of 20. 1 and 20, 2 and 10. 4 and 5, there we go, 4 and 5, okay? So now at this point, I've factored. Now I'm gonna use the zero product property, which is what we did up here. X plus 4 equals 0, X plus 5 equals 0, so X is gonna equal negative 4, and X is gonna equal negative 5. Now, because we've been graphing and graphing and graphing, there's a few things that you can realize. You might say, okay, I understand This is, you know, if I was to draw a little sketch of it, which we're not going to ask you to do, you know that it's going to go through at -4 and -5, and you also know that it is a positive. So you know the parabola is going to look something like that, just if you wanted to picture it. But most of the time, if they just ask you to solve it, you're just going to solve it and say those are the two solutions. Okay? All right, let's move on down here. Same thing. You guys go ahead and give it a shot. It is set equal to 0 already, so you can just start factoring. Or doesn't work, I mean. Oh yeah, okay, I should have figured that one out. Okay, so the signs are the same, they're both positive. This combination is going to get me here. So now, zero product property. Now you notice these are the same exact things. So do I really have to do the same exact problem twice? I'm gonna get the same exact answer. Not really, you don't have to do it twice. So x is gonna equal -8. Notice now, if we did this side, we'd also get -8. Well, that means I'm gonna have one solution. If it's the same thing, so basically my parabola, right, is going through x at -8, wherever that is over here. It's a smiley face, and so that's where the vertex is gonna be. It's going through the x-intercept in only one place. All right, so the solution or the root is -8, and there's only one of them in this case. All right, okay, so let's look at this one. Oh, to subtract 64 from both sides. Okay, now that it's set equal to 0, I can factor. Signs are different. Oh, and I'm gonna look here and see which combination gets me to 12. Looks like that one right here. -16. Zero product property. Okay, so two solutions. All right. Okay, so now I wanted to show you a word problem because that sometimes really kind of stumps people. And this one, what it's saying, and I kind of changed it a little bit, but it's saying we have a picture, and this picture in here, so where the sun and the water is, that's a 20 by 40. So this is smaller, so we're gonna say, okay, that's 20 from here to here. This is 40 inches from here to here, okay? So we have 20 by 40. The width of the frame is X all around. So the distance from here to here is X, here to here is X, here to here, from the distance from the picture to the edge is X, all the way around. And we have to find the value of X. Now the area of the entire thing, the frame and the picture, is 1,664. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set it up. Basically, I'm gonna look here, and this side length is going to be 20 plus 2 x's, an x on either side. Okay, so I have 20 plus 2x. Okay, this side length is going to be 40 plus 2x. Now, well, I'll change it in a second. Okay. So I know to get the area, I'm multiplying this times this. Now, just because it's going to be easier for me in a minute to do this, I'm gonna go ahead and put my parentheses, and because the commutative property, it doesn't matter if I put my 2x first or my 40 first, and that way when I FOIL it out, I'll get my x's. So I'm just gonna move those around. I'm gonna put 2x plus 40, and then I'm gonna put 2x plus 20, okay? And that's gonna equal, unfortunately, I can't say it's gonna equal 0 because when I multiply those together, it's gonna be 1,664. Okay, so now what do we have to do? Well, we can't use the zero product property because it's not equal to 0. So we have to make that happen, which means we're gonna have to FOIL this out, right? Grab my calculator. Okay, so you can see here, all I've done is FOIL it out. I'm gonna combine like terms. Okay, and now I want this to be equal. So I'm just gonna subtract from both sides. I have 800 minus 1,664. I'm just gonna rewrite this. Okay, and now it equals 0. Okay, so now I can factor. Well, the first part of factoring is to go ahead and say what, is there a GCF? And it looks like there is a 4 that's a GCF. So I can divide everything, both sides of these by 4, right? Divide everything by 4. Still equals 0. And now, hopefully I can factor. I have 216. Let me write the factors of 216. That might not be pretty. 1 and 216. Okay, I'm trying to get all the way to 3, so these numbers have to be fairly close together. 12 and 18. Trying to see if I did something wrong here. Oh, yes, I did. This should be 30 because 120 when I divided everything by 4. Sorry about that. Okay, 30. Okay, so now we have our combination right here. Signs are different. So I have x minus 6, x plus 36. Okay, so now I've factored and I can use my zero product property. So x minus 6 equals 0. So x equals 6 and x equals negative 36. Now, because this is not a parabola, this is a word problem here where x actually means the length of something, right? And we're trying to figure out what that is. Well, let's look at our two answers because it says we have two answers. 6 and negative 36. Well, can the length of a picture frame, can the length of anything be a negative 36? No. So x just equals 6. And this is going to come up a lot of times with word problems. You're going to get a negative and a positive answer. And you have to realize, okay, because it's a word problem, that negative one usually does not make sense. So find the value of x. X equals 6. And then inches. Okay? All right, this is another thing I wanted to show you. I've never taught this before. I don't know that I would choose to do it this way, but it is an option. And once I kind of got the hang of it, I was going, okay, this really isn't that bad. Okay, it says how to use factoring to graph. All right, if you notice this problem, it's pretty easily factorable, right? So our first step is I went ahead and factored it, okay? Now, this is kind of cool, right? If you use the zero product property, let me cover this up so you'll kind of get it a little bit easier. Okay, so when I factor this equation, this is what it factors to. If I use the zero product property, I'm gonna say x plus 2 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. Subtract 2 to both sides, so x equals negative 2, add 4, x equals 4. Okay, so if I had to graph this, and it's easily factorable, I already know two intercepts. I know the x-intercept here is negative 2, and the x-intercept here is 4. Now, just looking at this, right, I know it's a smiley face. There's some things that I can say, okay, well, I know this parabola goes like this, and the vertex is gonna be down here, and I can even figure out the axis of symmetry because I can say, okay, well, 1, 2, 3 over, 1, 2, 3 over. So this is gonna be the axis of symmetry right here, 1. So then what I can do, so if you follow my steps, we factored, we found the two intercepts, and now we are going to do this part right here, which is basically, I'm gonna look in the middle and say the axis of symmetry is 1, and I'm gonna plug 1 back into here. 1 squared is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, minus 8. So 1 minus 2 is -1. -1 minus 8 is -9. Okay, and there you go. That's how you can use factoring to graph it. All right, here, go ahead and do your homework, and we will check those answers tomorrow.